Can a language survive the age of AI if the machines don't think in it? Nearly every AI model shaping how the world writes, speaks, and creates is trained primarily in English. So, what happens to the languages and the ways of thinking that don't naturally fit those systems? I'm Anna Stripko. This is Augmented Society series about how culture, not just technology, decides what survives the AI transition. And there is no better place to begin than Japan. After Yale, Jungo Kasai returned to Japan to found Kotoba AI. It was a question about the future of a language and ultimately a civilization. This is where we begin. Jungo, take me please to your past. I'm just curious, what point did you decide you want to come back to Japan?
Sure. So I grew up in Japan and went to high school. I was in Japan after high school. And when I was in high school, I was like, I wanted to study both humanities and science. I was particularly interested in philosophy and also natural sciences. And I thought, if I want to do both of them, typically in Japan, you have to choose your major before going to college. But I wanted to do some sort of like U.S. education holds liberal arts. When I did level, I ended up applying to U.S. schools when I was in high school. Unfortunately, at the time, and maybe even more so now that yen is getting very weak, but I had to go to get like scholarship and stuff. So I only had like very few options. But Yale was like really generous and getting me like full scholarship. So I ended up going to Yale.
I got very interested in like philosophy of language, and that was very, very related to AI. In retrospect, at the time, I have no idea, but I started exploring AI, and then I ended up like doing a PhD after. I started some sort of a research project with the professors in Yale, applied to PhDs. I ended up going to University of Washington in Seattle. It's a very different school, state school with those very culturally and very institutionally very different, but it was a really great experience. And then, of course, that was before AI was so cool. But after that, like towards the end of my PhD, like all large language model GPT came out, and I wanted to do something for Japan's AI ecosystem. Japan's AI ecosystem is compared to the US, it was not as like so well like there's not too many people there. So I wanted to do something for Japan. So I started an academic project with my co-founder, Mari. And that was building large language models for Japanese.
Yeah.
At the time, LLMs are really bad at Japanese. And we thought we got to do something. It might be related to even the entire country's economy or national security. At the time, it sounds ridiculous, right? It's just some large language models. But in retrospect, I think it was very right. Sovereign AI, people talk about sovereign AI all the time. Countries like Japan, other countries like China, Southeast Asia, they really want to have independent LLMs by themselves, right? Because it's so deeply connected in the infrastructure. So they really need it. So that sort of brought me back to Japan.
Yeah. I'm just wondering here, like, it looks like based on everything that you're describing, it looks like the main trigger here wasn't that much commercial kind of question here. It was more like a national question for you, like, what can we do to make Japan different? And I'm just wondering how people here in Japan perceived you. Do you think people at that time, when you started to build all those things, really, really kind of believe your vision?
So I started our company after this academic project, right? But it's kind of all related. So when we started this academic project, building LLMs, we called it Fugaprema, because we use Japan's supercomputer called Fugaku. I think definitely there's quite a few people who are skeptical, like why we have to do this. And now it feels like anyone wants to do that. By the time, especially, like why do we need to do this? There's other things going on. But yeah, there are people who are really, really supportive. And I ended up working with great Japanese professors, researchers. So that was a great opportunity for me to get more connected to Japan's AI ecosystem.
Since we're on this question about kind of differences like US and Japan, right?
Yeah.
what does the field got wrong about Japan, about the distance between Japanese and English, considering that you were really, really like a pioneer building really like, I feel like a first Japanese language learning model.
Technically, there's many differences, right? So one thing that is clearly different in Japanese and other sort of Chinese and Asian languages is that, we didn't have white spaces. Now everything is okay, but at the time, there's a huge problem for building like AIs. Like if you have white spaces like in English and other European languages, it's very easy to process. Like convert it to something that is readable to computers. But then if you don't have white spaces, you don't know where to click, and you get like infinitely many vocab, right? Infinitely many words, and we have to sort of researchers struggle a lot. We end up having like really great tools now. Like people think like AI just it's true in some way, but AI got really strong, like said almost like accident, right? So like it got really strong. But then we definitely have like building blocks that led to this innovation.
In your view, since you were really like pioneers building a very, very first language learning in Japanese, and for me, language is a part of a culture, is a heart of it.
Yeah.
And I'm just really curious, what does a model have to understand about hierarchy and relationship in order to really be perfect and working really perfectly in Japanese, especially about what's inside? Because, like many people probably don't know this concept of like kukyo yoma, being the right? And still, like when we are interacting with a computer, there could be some things that the user untold or didn't say. I'm just wondering, what's your take on that?
I think, well, first of all, in the world of text, like when you go to like speech, right, like our company does, it'll be even harder, right, because you have to capture like personal features that are different from between Japanese and English and other languages. But even in the world of text, there's definitely differences. Like it's like different virtual expectations, the way people communicate. So the way LLMs, large language models, are created typically consists of like multiple steps. The first step is like learning from basically the entire internet, like all the text data. Then there are some jumps, but after that, you'd have to sort of align it to sort of people's mom. Like you haven't when you talk to ChatGPT or these models, they're usually very nice, right?
Unless you saw the settings, right, for Blue.
Exactly.
Things to not agree with you.
Yeah. So they're really nice and they care about you. So that's a process that that could be cultural specific, and you have to sort of train a model so that it can respect the sort of value in that language.
Kotoba AI is more like B2B or B2B2C.
Yeah, we do both actually. We do speech AI, so it's deployed in like Fortune 500 companies. They need Chinese, Korean. We specifically focus on these digital languages, so they have So to the applications, but we also have to see. We have now 200,000 novels now users, active users. Congratulations! Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean it's really evidence that people really need it.
Yeah,
you need really fast communications now in the change world. I mean, I remember when I first went to the US, I really couldn't speak English and I struggled a lot. But now, I can communicate well. I can basically. I doubled my whole multiples and everything, which is so even without my effort, I think it would be great to give that kind of training.
that's amazing. And the reason why I asked about kind of business model here, etc., is just very, very simple. It's because if we're talking about B2B businesses specifically, I got like companies trying to enter Japan market. Very, very often they say something like Japan is too slow or not ready for our solution. When this Japanese buyer of a B2B solution here moves slowly, what it actually means.
Yeah, it is true. Sometimes like business happens with a slower pace compared to countries like the US or mostly the companies, right? But at the same time, I feel like they just there's definitely many things you can do to see that.
So one thing is second demos. So like you talk about like you have slides and you just said, this is what we're gonna do. They're gonna do proof of concepts. I mean, that would take some time. Big companies, Japan especially. I mean, even in the US, I think it will take. But if you have creative working demos, people will just, this is gonna change the world or change the customer experience of my software or my product. So that would definitely speed it up. It's very important to have real like products going on, like not just explaining things, talk about technical details. We didn't know when we started. We learned it. As some of the CEOs didn't happen because we didn't have great demos, or we didn't even have demos. But now we have demos all the time, and he's getting like a better sense.
Can we hear the demo?
Yeah, so we do all the real-time speech AI, so text-to-speech, speech-to-text, simultaneous translation, more like interactive agents. But what's cool about one cool application is definitely simultaneous translation. So we have this app called Kotoba. A lot of users are using it now, and also enterprises are using it as well. So this app does speech-to-speech translation directly. So very low latency, very fast, but very accurate. So this was used in many events in Japan, like IBS, Sushi Tech, other things. But let me just show you. So I'm going to speak in Japanese, and it just returns English immediately. Typically, it would work with headphones and glasses, AR glasses, but let me just do it from the phone now. Okay. 今、日本語を喋ってるんですけど、日本語がどんどん英語に変わっていきます。で、わかるように、ものすごいスピードで英語が出ていると思います。で、これもちろん英語だけじゃなくて、中国語、韓国語、スペイン語、そういった言語もサポートしています。で、こうやってテキストも見えるんですけど、実際はですね、これ音声が入って音声が出るっていうデモになってますので、エンドトゥエンドでできています。他にもですね、これからボイスクローニングというのをサポートします。で、ボイスクローニングができると、何ができるかというと、私が今喋ってる声が私の声で英語になったり、中国語になったり、スペイン語になったり、韓国語になったりします。で、実は日本語と英語って翻訳としては一番難しくて、ご存知のように語順が違うからなんですけども、これが韓国語だったらより早くなります。で、そうなると、例えば今2秒ぐらい、大体2秒ぐらいかかってるんですけども、これが 0.5 秒とか1秒ぐらいのスピードになっていきます。で、同時通訳やりながら、こうやって、いろんな方とコミュニケーションを取ることができて、言語の壁が壊れるのを感じてもらえるかなと思います。
I learned lots of debates around AI. Can it stay human? Is it for good or for bad, etc.? Based on what you're saying, I literally kind of trying to project your own cultural code into AI and look at as much as human as possible and just like, what do you think? Can AI be really human?
Definitely. Yeah, I think it would be, even superhuman, I guess. Especially even in the Omicron stage, if you just look at certain tasks that we do, like translation is getting better than most of our humans, right? Most of the humans, and also coding is also getting much better there. So I think it's definitely in certain tasks they're really getting better at humans, outperforming humans. What's important is really it is very important. What we're really excited about the AI, our translation goals, is that it's human conversations. We're planning human interactions, not just human to AI. Of course, human to AI would happen a lot, and would probably increase more. But what's great about this is we're helping human communications.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jungo, it sounds like very, very powerful vision. And I want to share something very funny here. One thesis about Japan is that it's actually not a difficult market. It's a stress test, which means that it doesn't break companies and Japanese and foreign companies. It reveals what was already fragile, right? From where you sit right now, watching AI foreign companies try to enter Japan market, when you build a domestic alternative, what that holds, what does it break down?
Yeah, so I think a lot of Japanese companies want Japanese solutions, right? But
Yes.
typically evaluation
is very important, right? So like they do internal evaluations. Sometimes, domestic solutions, they don't evolve or they don't perform as well as, US models or these models.
Yeah.
So I think it is very important to compete. And we compared to the US, we have like much less competition in the country. So like if you're, we're a speech company now. I mean, they're based both in Japan and San Francisco. But we have way more competitors in the US. So I think we should definitely have more competition in the country. Otherwise, customers will choose it because it's, you're able to compete against all the players. And when I say other competitors, I just don't mean Google or OpenAI, right? So it's we have similar startups, unicorns, decacorns. There's only or companies of our size that big. So I think this is very important, and because AI is kind of now being language agnostic, it is very important to compete against all of these international players.
When we are talking about Japan is building its own sovereign AI, is it what you're talking about? Is it?
For sure. Yeah, the Japanese government and all the large players in Japan are definitely using sovereign AI, which makes a lot of sense, right? So like, it's very important to have access to these nodes.
Yeah.
And have basically the resource and people who can build these models, right? Otherwise, what if they cut access to these models? Everything will just break down, right? So like sovereign AI makes a lot of sense. And AI, when I say AI, it's not just in the models, it's about the entire ecosystem, right? Compute, you need compute to build models, you need data to build models, you probably need researchers to build these models, right? So like you need the whole stack of all the resources. And so like without that, I think it'll take forever to catch up, right? So like we need to keep doing it. Right.
And that's why government is investing so much money into all this. So I think if you're right about all this, like you mentioned, we're hypothesizing here, right? What does Japan end up keeping that other places give away? So we are talking here about really like philosophical type of question, right? Like building sovereign AI, building unique language learning models, building your invention, just like every ecosystem.
There's many things. I mean, first of all, let's just say like our engineering team is already international. A lot of people come to Tokyo or San Francisco, but it's great. Japan has like really great all the infrastructure. It's very safe, and people want to live here. Relatively easy for us to hire people internationally. I really hope that we will be able to keep this over time. In terms of like the way we communicate with it, I think what makes Japan definitely unique, and also we get attention from all the US companies internationally, or maybe other countries as well, is that we have a really large economy, right? After the US, Japan is one of the largest ones, right? So like it is most of the companies are working on like B2B applications, and definitely they can't really ignore Japan. Japan is really, and it's also like in terms of like geopolitics, it's closer to the US compared to like, for example, China. And so that is something that all the people, not just Japan, but also US, like become companies in the US, is interesting. Right? So like they want to build something in Japan, and this will be the next battlefield.
What's your message to founders who decided to build in Japan domestically without leaving the country?
Yeah, so I would say, of course, I'm still in the journey, so I'm not in the position of like saying anything super, so like lessons. But I would say, it's definitely more challenging than building things in places like San Francisco, for example, in many ways, right? Because they have their ecosystem, there's investors and customers there, everything happens very quickly there. But I think it is for us, we have a basis in both, but it's great to have a base in Tokyo. Because, it's really fulfilling to work with young, ambitious Japanese researchers, engineers, and then try to make something very sort of impactful in society. As a person who grew up in Japan, I think it feels like it's a really great experience. So I really want to encourage everyone here, everyone in Japan, to think about startups. I know it's very hard. We've already had like many difficult things in our startup journey, but I think it's definitely
very fulfilled. And being able to do this with great friends was something that really appreciated. And right after my PhD, the timing was amazing, but I am sure that people would have this kind of opportunity as well. So try to seize the opportunity if you can start a company, or not just, doing a startup, but also whatever opportunities you have. So that's sort of the message. And I always feel grateful for the opportunity I got.
That was Jungo Kasai, founder of Kotoba AI. Subscribe and follow the journey.